Y'all know me, Big the Legend G, with my co-host Initial D, bringing that heat in a twist street. Grab your popcorn, kick up your feet, sit back, relax. We about to blow. Welcome to our channel, enjoy the show. Ayy.
Pause, conversation, brain stimulation, BGID, no imitation. Look, pull up on the mic. Two big guys is rocking the night. Sub on YouTube and follow on Twitch. I guarantee it's gonna be a hit. It's showtime. All right.
Yo.
Never get enough of that beat, man. Just never.
Not at all. What is up, gang? Welcome in to the podcast, the Two Pretty Guys podcast.
Not one, not three, but just two.
With your wonderful host, Bearded Legend and Initial D.
Man, we in the house. And I ain't talking about the LL Cool J show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was running a little late today. I was on the phone with my dad, and you know how it is. You're on the phone with your folks, and they want to talk. And me and my father's phone conversation. He's kind of like me. Well, I guess you can say I'm like him. I'll talk on the phone, but then I got a limit. I'm like, all right, well, you start saying them keywords. All right, well, stuff like that. And he's kind of like that too. He'll say his piece, whatever he got to say. And we can kind of both feel the conversation's about to come to a close.
Right.
But we were talking, and then it kind of spilled over into a conversation about my nephew. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, this was just any other night. I wouldn't mind. So I feel a little bad. I had to tell him, I said, I gotta go, Dad. I'll call you tomorrow. How about that?
It'd be like this sometimes.
Yeah. Just thankful that I got, I can call my parents. Some people, they, can't do that. So, but, it's a blessing. So, but, how has your week been, bro?
I'm gonna put it this way. Same stuff, different week.
I can't disagree.
Same stuff, different week.
Although I feel like every day is like just a little bit different than the previous day. It does resemble one another, but like for me, it was just like any other week, honestly. Like nothing out of the ordinary, but just the same. Just working a lot and pushing and just doing what I got to do, of course. But I did reach a little just a little burnout, if you want to call it that, just a little burnout early this week. But after talking to the wife and talking to a good friend of mine, and then talking to my dad, and it helped.
Yeah,
it helped a whole lot. So throughout life, folks, those of you on the chat, by the way, whether you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, we appreciate y'all so much. But my grandmother told me many years ago, she's like, you can't do everything by yourself. You can do a lot, but you can't do everything. And there may be some time periods in your life where you need help, and that help might come through a lot of different ways. You might need somebody to speak into your life. You might need somebody to physically help you. You might need somebody to spiritually help you, financially help you. Like at some point, we all need help at some point. And one of the worst things we can do is just like say, I got it. I'm fine. I got it. Like, all right. You say you got it. So.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. Because, we always try to do stuff on our own, and we just dig ourselves into a deeper hole, and then at that point it's kind of late.
Right. Yeah, because there is a such thing as too late. Our pride will cause us to fall into a hole and can't get out.
Right. Yep. That's exactly right.
It will
That is
definitely put you
exactly.
in that situation of, like I said, really a point of no return, unfortunately.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, Chad, there's nothing wrong with asking for help when it's really warranted.
Mhm.
When it's really warranted.
Yeah, now don't be asking for help every day and every time you come around. Oh boy, like what you want now or what you want? Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on now, not like that. Like, have some sort of like fortitude about yourself and handle your business. But again, when you do come across those hurdles and those walls, you need a little oomph. Then yeah, ask for help. Most of the time, if people know your character and they know that you're somebody that never asks for anything, then you probably really need it.
Yeah.
And then when people know that, that's when they're more inclined to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but nonetheless, like I said, my week was so. It seems like you had the same, just adulting for the most part.
Yep.
Um,
Still can't figure out that cancel subscription yet.
oh, not yet, not yet, dude. Um, I think it's somewhere down in the fine print. We didn't read it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't really explained to us. Well, I will tell you this. Yeah, every day is different. So I know today. So like I said, we're in the process of moving. We got about 2 weeks left, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I took your advice the other day about the car insurance, and I went ahead and canceled my car insurance, and I'm switching over to the other company, and that's gonna save us quite a bit of money. So I'm happy
Good.
about that. So I really appreciate that advice right there. Um,
Good.
the second thing I'm trying to do is switch my phone carrier, which is it's a little bit more complicated to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in the process of trying to do it. So anyway, I needed some information off of like all of the phones here. So my phone, like some numbers and stuff in the settings
Mm-hmm.
to put into the carrier. So it's my wife. She gave me her phone. I looked at her phone. And then my oldest son, I told him to give me his phone so I can look for the numbers. So you know how everyone's iPhone is different. Everybody configures their
Right.
phone differently. So I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like, where is your settings at? So you got all these useless apps on here. Like my phone ain't like that. So man, I swiped and came across a picture. I'm like, oh Lord. Now, mind y'all, my son is 18. All right, so he's grown. However, we still got rules here, So that led to me searching through his phone and all this stuff. So we had a
Mm-hmm.
long talk earlier. I think I told y'all we had went through something like this a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
revisiting it a little different now. But before I took his phone away from him, I didn't take his phone away this time, but I did tell him you you got to clean this up, and if you don't, I'm not paying for your phone. You want to do this, you pay for your own phone.
Mm.
So I'm not paying for your computers and everything he got. It's my son. Everything he got, I bought it.
Yeah.
It's mine. It's mine. If I
True.
want it, I can take it.
That's
So,
true.
but that's why you need your own. That's why you need a job. That's why you need to stay where you in your own place and nobody can hold that over you.
Mm-hmm.
If you got your own stuff, do what you want. But as long as you live with me, we're not doing this. And he felt bad about it. He did. So I told him, I said, clear this up. We got a lot of time we need to spend together, a lot of talking we need to do. He was very receiving of it. But I also told him, like, I was 18 at one point, I was a teenager at one point. So I'm not crucifying you. It's just there's a right way to do things, there's a wrong way to do things. So I had turned into, the TV sitcom dad for about 15 minutes. The wife sitting over here being quiet, just sitting there for moral support. It looked like a scene out of like the Cosby Show. I'm not kidding you, man. Theo, we found some magazines under your bed. Dad, how'd they get there? Like, okay. Okay. How'd they get? Okay. That's that. We're gonna play that game. I got you.
Having big fun in Baltimore.
Look, and that's just I'm quickly reminded that hey man, you are a dad. You are a dad. You are somebody's father. Because I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I forget, but my mindset is very much youthful. Very much youthful. I'm still interested in a lot of the things I was interested in when I was a kid. Video games, anime, stuff like that. Like I'm still like into that. But it's like dawning on me, like, wait a minute, you're a dad too. Don't forget. you gotta play that role, which I do. By the way, I do. It's just sometimes, when stuff like that happens, you're like, I gotta get in the dad mode now. He can hear the sternness in my voice and the concern in my voice and the authority and stuff like that. It was enough to actually make him upset. So I wasn't trying to do that, but it happened. So
yeah,
he's a great kid. He's really good. AB honor roll, 3.0 GPA, about to graduate. So he's not bad. It's just again, he's a young man.
Yep.
But enough of the small talk. We got to do that a little bit, of course, because I feel like we kind of rushed this a little bit because, like I said, we usually get in here a little early. But like I said, I just kind of been on the go dealing with that. And then my dad, and now here we are. I wasn't expecting the phone call from him tonight, but that's what I'm talking to him.
Expect the unexpected.
All right. So welcome everybody to the Two Bearded Guys podcast again. If you are over on Twitch, please do us a big favor and give us a follow. We really, really appreciate it. If you are on YouTube, the Red app, subscribe, like the stream. We definitely encourage you all to engage with us, comment, let us know your thoughts, takes, or you can just sit back and listen, whatever it is you want to do. Share this on your social media as well. We're trying to get more people into the streams, into the dialogue, and we need your help. So we can only do so much. This is something that me and Bearder here we do strictly for fun, because we both work full time. We husbands. We have a lot of duties and stuff, and this is more of a something to like kind of wind down as we approach the end of the week. So we really appreciate your support. But we are right, and we're on episode 39, almost 40. I'm almost 40 myself. Oh man, why did I say that? Dang. Ooh. I mean, I done got to the point I don't even care no more, man.
Right.
Who cares? Age is just age. So we're talking about modern day issues in the church. This is the third and the final part of this, if you want to call it a series or just subject or whatnot, because we felt like this was something that needed to be discussed. Part 1 and part 2 are on our YouTube channels on the live portion of the channel, because we don't have any uploads. We just got live streams. So we highly encourage you to go back and watch part 1 and part 2, for the sake of time. We're not going to really get into that. But what I did want to say, I did want to like bring something up on the side before we jump into this.
Okay.
That is related to this subject. So have you heard about the latest news about Philip Anthony Mitchell?
I actually saw it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I saw it a couple of days ago. I was picking the kids up from school. I think it was, I don't know, Monday maybe. So Monday or Tuesday. I was picking the kids up from school, and then I was just, YouTube, and I saw what it said, how there was a controversial clip going around, a viral clip going around, that people were starting to like turn on him because of something that he said in a clip. So much like the internet, they will take a clip that probably was like taken out of context, more than likely, or modified in some sort of way, and everybody will just believe it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I only watched like 2 videos on it because I didn't want to follow it too much, because I watched it. I know what he said, and I watched it in this
Hmm.
context, and he didn't say anything wrong. I stand.
Right.
In fact, this makes me stand behind him even more now, to support him
Yep.
way more now. I mean, I always supported him, but I'm like, yeah, you really got my respect right now, because
Hmm.
only the real ones are going to stand next to him at this point. And the people that they say turned their back on him, they never really supported him anyway. They just probably were looking for something to throw at him, and that's it. But
Yep.
what did you think about? Well, I ain't gonna say it. I'll just let you. What do you think about the clip in this? From what you saw, or if you saw it in its entirety?
Um, well, I didn't see it in its entirety, so I was just happened to be scrolling, and this young black lady was talking about it. Black female, she was talking about it. But the clip came up about the part that he said, and then she kind of took from a different approach.
Mhm.
But I mean, for the most part, he's right because it says it in scripture. It plain as day says it in scripture.
Yeah,
So like D said, we're not gonna get into it, guys. If y'all just go search it, just go
yeah.
search Philip Anthony Mitchell. It'll come up.
I'm sure that probably was one of the first things. He got a
It
lot of viral clips,
Yeah, that was
but
probably gonna be trending for
that
sure.
one's trending right now. So check it out. Yeah, we don't want to take up the whole episode. Maybe we can talk about it some other time.
Yeah.
Um, things taken out of context and whatnot in a future episode. But we're gonna go ahead and stick to the pathway that we have chosen on today's podcast. So, all right. So we already went through about 5 points that we were trying to make. I thought that we were going to be able to do this all in one episode, but that just didn't happen.
No, not at
We would
all.
have been way past this, but we're not, because there's so much here that needs to be unpacked. But it's coming to a close today. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and go to the sixth point here. Um, and of course, like I said, the title of the podcast is "The Issues in the Modern Day Church." So earlier we talked about how the church puts emphasis on us and not Jesus, some money focused issues, compromising messages, and other things like that. But number 6 here is that there is almost a non-existent mentioning of Christian persecution in the modern church, U.S. church, I'll say.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, even my own church, they don't talk about this. They do not talk about this at all. Like, I don't think I've ever been to a church that talks about Christian being persecuted overseas. I just haven't. Um, do you remember? I forgot what year it was, but do you remember when ISIS had all of those men on the beach,
Hmm.
and they killed all the men on the beach? I don't like I
Yeah.
say that on the stream, but often and right there on camera. And these were Christians.
Hmm.
And I remember when it happened because it was on the news, and people were talking about it and all that stuff. But the thing is, this is something that happens. This is an everyday reality for Christians in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, really the Middle East. This is a reality for certain parts of Africa, not
Hmm.
all of Africa, but certain parts of Africa. Actually, there was a story that happened late last month of some, I think, 70 Christians, I believe, were I'm trying to be careful with what I say, because you know how it is, these words and sensitivity and stuff. 70 Christians who were unalived, and it didn't even make national news. Like it just didn't happen in Africa. Google it, folks. Go to Google, say 70 Christians who were unalived in some part, I don't know if it was Congo or some part of Africa, to where it's primarily like militant Islamic territory. And you cannot be a self-proclaiming open Christian over there without something like that happening to you. So, and the thing is like, it's not common knowledge. It's not talked about in the church. The news doesn't cover it because they're Christians. I think if it was anybody else, they would have covered it, but because they're Christians, they don't ever talk about it. So my thing is, okay, well, forget the media. Why isn't the church talking about it? That's I don't know if you ever watched this documentary. Have you ever watched the documentary American Gospel?
I have not.
Okay, so it came out on, I don't know, a number of years ago. It's a documentary with like several different type of preachers and stuff like that, and it talks about how America has a very watered down version of Christianity and how it's focused on us, and the expectations of being a Christian are always blown out of proportion, and the prosperity gospel and all of these different type of things that the modern day church here in America seems to focus on, and they never really focus on like, what it truly means to be a Christ follower. They never focus on the real reality of Christians who are not in the West.
Yeah.
Because we don't experience persecution over here. We don't. No. Not like these people.
Yeah, for sure.
But go ahead. There's something else I was going to say. I'll wait a little bit. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna just get your thoughts on this because I know I've been blabbing and stuff.
Not blabbing.
How it goes.
First off, welcome in, Carlos. How we doing, brother? How we doing? I'm gonna read Carlos's comment real quick.
Okay.
He says it is hard to say where the cover up is happening or why it is being ignored, but it seems to depend on where it happens. It is less known. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Carlos. I honestly, I've really been thinking about this a lot. Because you're right, you don't hear it a lot, but we as churches do mission trips.
Yeah.
To these places.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen or heard of anyone going to the Middle East because the Middle East is predominantly Muslim or Islam. So I can't remember. I've never recalled. I'll put it that way. I've never recalled hearing it. But if it's being talked about in the churches, great. But from our experience, I can't recall hearing about it. And again, like you said, it is sad because they are our brothers and sisters in Christ, and we should want to do everything that we possibly can to help them. And I think that is the number one reason why a lot of churches do mission trips.
Yeah.
Because they want to go over and help these people. For example, I'll give you an example from my church. We have this big mission in Mexico. We've raised money to start summer camps for the kids and just plant churches in different areas in Mexico and things like that because those the people down there, they don't really know God, or they think they know God. There's another member that goes to Lithuania. Um, I know a lot of the schools, like the Christian schools, they'll go to like Dominican Republic and Honduras and things like that. Um, and I think that, and I could be wrong. And chat, y'all chime in. I feel like that is our way of acknowledging that Christians are being persecuted by doing these mission trips, but at the same time, we only when they come back with the reports, we only hear the good stuff. We
Well,
don't never hear the bad stuff.
yeah.
So
Um, yes. Well, speaking of the good and the bad, I think it was I don't know, I think it was last year. There was a young man and a young woman who actually died on a mission trip somewhere. I can't remember. It's You can find the news story. It was a couple. It was a young couple. Actually, they went. So
mhm,
I can't remember where they went, but they ended up dying
mhm,
doing that. Like that. That does happen.
yeah,
That does happen because you are going in like uncharted territory, and it's a very dangerous thing. Like a mission. That's what they call it. It's literally a
yeah,
mission of going into a place where Christianity is not primarily the religion that's being practiced or even acknowledged, and usually it's in territories where it's the opposite.
yeah,
So
yep.
it's dangerous.
But hey, at the same time, Jesus did warn us. He warned his disciples that
He
you will be persecuted.
said
Um,
you'll be killed.
and sure enough, there's records of the apostles. Some of them being persecuted, some of them being stoned and
Hmm.
unalived, and everything like that. But I guess that's, I'm not gonna say that's the price we pay for being Christians, but I think that is scary. But at the same time, if we're professing our faith, we should have no worries.
Yeah, yeah. Our church, they do they do mission trips as well. They go to Dominican Republic. They go to Peru. Um, they do. Now if that a way of acknowledging persecuted Christians? To me, no, because they're not going. Our church doesn't go to these places. Like they go to Dominican Republic to like build parks and stuff
Mm-hmm.
for the kids, and they go to Peru. I don't know what they do over there, but they just we still don't hear about the actual things that are happening to Christians overseas. And sometimes I'm not gonna say every now and then, but I feel bad. I do, man, because it's like we're over here, just living and going to church freely. Because there's some people that can't do that. They can't just go to church in their best clothes and just they can't drive to church. They can't even have a Bible where they are in some of these places. They can't
Right.
because it's outlawed. It'll get you unalived if you have this stuff. If you say Jesus' name, it'll get you unalive. And it just makes me wonder, like, I think about this more often than I probably should, but I said one of these days the pendulum's gonna flip, and
And we'll
then
start a war. Yeah.
we're going to experience what they're gonna experience
Mm-hmm.
at some point. At some point, and I feel like not only is it a mistake to not mention this so that we can be praying for them over there and then so that we can send as much to them as we can. It's a mistake because it doesn't prepare us for what's coming. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not a if, it's a when. Okay, because I'm sure you've heard about the subject of the rapture before. It says that God's going to come back for the church and they're not going to go through tribulation and all this stuff. But I had a thought like many years ago. I'm like, would the Christians in the East agree with that?
Right.
You know, would they really agree with that? when they're going through what they're going through right now. I recently started talking to these ministers out of Pakistan a couple weeks back, and they got, I can't remember the name of the church. It's global something. They got a church over there.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will say about people in the Middle East, like they take whatever they believe in, they go hard. Like whether it's Islam or whether you do find Christians over there, they go real, real hard for what it is they believe in.
Yeah.
So the woman was telling me that we risk our lives every day, but it doesn't matter. We're not scared. We live for Christ, and it is what it is, and whatever happens just happens. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like the church over here ain't ready for this. Mm-mm. Nah, the church over here ain't ready. They ain't ready for that conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So it's very humbling, and it really, it makes me pray for them. It makes me keep them in my thoughts a lot,
Mm-hmm.
because again, like I said, just because the church may not acknowledge it doesn't mean that Christians don't acknowledge it. But I think that, again, if they talked about it more, then we would have more people praying for them over
Yes.
there. But since people go to church and they get these watered down messages, or these messages that are pertaining to making you feel good, they're not thinking about no Christians in Iraq or Pakistan in that moment. They're not. Now some churches do talk about this. Some of them do.
Yeah.
But not as far as like as a whole. I don't feel. Let's
Let's
see.
see.
Want to highlight his comment.
Yeah, I got it. Let's see. So first off, he says, Carlos says Christian persecution and worst is happening. That is definitely agreed upon, Carlos. I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna look at it this way. Do I think there's Christian persecution in the U.S.? To some degree, yes, but not like it is overseas. You know, there's different beliefs, there's different denominations. Everybody has their what they believe in, and and it just seems like we're always gonna have a a difference of opinion,
Mm,
and it can lead to arguments. It can lead to arguments. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone losing their life over
nope.
a disagreement, over
Nah.
biblical faith. Never heard of it over here.
Not saying it don't happen, but I haven't
Right.
heard of it.
So, um,
I think that persecution, the word itself needs to be defined.
mm-hmm.
It means to be afflicted for oppositional reason.
Yeah.
Okay, not to be made fun of, not to lose your job, not to nothing like that, man. It's got to be something serious that's going on with you. Like persecution is, it's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to prove a point
Mm-hmm.
because of what it is you're believing. That's real biblical persecution. And I put a link in the chat um to what I told y'all happened to them 70 Christians in Africa. That happened in February, and they were beheaded. Okay, that's look, and I think that
Mm.
one of the reasons that the church don't talk about it is because it's so uncomfortable and it's so horrific.
Yeah.
But again, these people refused to reject their faith. And when we read that, it's two things that it makes you feel. It makes you feel sorrow and sadness for them, but it also makes you, don't take what I'm saying out of context, but it makes you rejoice because there are people in this world who take the faith that seriously. And Jesus said it himself, happy to see if you lose your life for my name's sake, for you will receive a crown of life. And it literally brings the scriptures to life because he said this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. And if we talked about this more over here in the States, it would make more people believe, like, dang, it's got to be something to this. You know, people literally like just not lying to get out of to live. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they do it. They going through that. So we can't be afraid of talking about it just because it's uncomfortable. You know, they're being a Christian. I think once again, I think people have forgotten what that is. It's not
Yeah.
just you getting wearing a cross around your neck, not just you having a Jesus bumper sticker on your car, or you getting a tattoo of praying hands. Like that ain't got that don't mean you a Christian. You know, you got to be sold out, sacrificial, and willing to take whatever comes your way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here in America, we stand on our beliefs, and there are certain things we won't do because of our beliefs, and certain things we must do because of it. So I guess the real question is like, remember when Jesus told Peter, "You're going to deny me 3 times," and Peter said, "Nah, I ain't gonna deny you." And then the kitchen got hot, and he did.
Yep.
You know, so how many of us are willing to say, "I'm not gonna deny the Lord," and then you in the position to where somebody's like, "Okay, I got a 12 gauge to your face. Are you gonna deny the Lord or not?" That's what these people going through. But it's machetes.
Yeah.
Okay. Like again, I know it's disturbing, but this is reality. And CNN don't talk about this, Fox don't talk about this. Y'all better start waking up and opening your eyes that if your church, ain't really highlighting it, you're like, well, it must not be happening. That's what a lot of people thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I just think that some churches are purposely not talking about it, because
Yeah.
it brings down the mood, and this is not the feel good message. And once again, just like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about in episode 1, it ain't supposed to be about you.
It's not supposed to be it's not supposed to be a feel good. Every lesson is not supposed to be a feel good.
No, no, not supposed to be. I mean, it's so you can have some of those sometimes because we be feeling down, and we go through stuff, and you need
Mm-hmm.
some inspiration. That's okay, but understand that the seriousness of Christ needs to be discussed, and there are people who are literally losing their lives for his name's sake.
Yeah.
Like the folks in the book of Acts, or all throughout the New Testament, the epistles, all these men who who preached the gospel. They were writing letters. Paul wrote letters from jail. He's like, I'm locked up, but I'm gonna still write. I'm gonna still do it. And then finally they executed them.
Yeah.
So
And
this
he got the worst of it.
yeah. Yeah, but don't know about and here's another thing. Like, everybody's a prophet now. Everybody's an apostle this and apostle that and a prophet and this and that. Well, Jesus said that a prophet is not even loved from his own hometown. And that most real prophets, if you can read this in the Old Testament, most of them, were under a lot of like strain in some
Mm-hmm.
instances from having to be the bearer of bad news to some certain kings. And they would hate these men. Like they was like, oh gosh, like get out of here. We're gonna kill you because you talking about this is going X, Y, and Z is gonna happen to us and stuff. And yeah, but now everybody's like, I'm a prophet and I got a word for you, and you're gonna get a Mercedes Benz. And I'm like, okay, Sure. Okay.
Uh,
Mercedes Benz.
oh my
Carlos said,
goodness.
what you say? Carlos says, um, here it's not bad. Dominican is mainly Christian and God believing country. Amen. There are parts that go the opposite way, but for the most accepted and take part in activities. I think that's just kind of how it is everywhere, Carlos. Like everyone's not
Mm-hmm.
a Christian in America, man. Like I would say that would you agree? Like the majority of America would at least consider themselves to be Christian. I ain't saying being acting Christian, but consider themselves to be Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's a small percentage of people who are, they go whatever way they want to go, atheism, Islam, whatever, the case may be. So,
Or just spiritual.
yeah, spiritual and, playing with the Ouija boards and all that witchcraft and stuff. They do that too. That's real big now,
Yep.
and we're going to talk about that in the future podcast. I think we need to talk about the supernatural, man, because witchcraft is it's something that's always been around, but it's really heavy now. I see stuff on TikTok, about witches and Wiccans and warlocks and stuff making videos
Mm-hmm.
telling folks how they manipulate situations and how they manipulate people's lives and casting spells on folks and stuff. I'm like, man,
Wow.
that stuff is real.
Mm.
Why you think this world messed up, man? That stuff is real.
Some voodoo dolls. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. It was a video. I think it was during the Super Bowl. It was a, it was a lady in the crowd. It was on TikTok. She had a little voodoo doll of
Oh
some.
yeah, yeah,
You saw
yeah.
it?
The quarterback. Yeah,
Like
yep.
I said, man. I said if I would have been sitting next to this lady, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get away from you. Throw some holy water on you. But yeah, man, real talk though. So yeah, church. I don't know, y'all in the chat. Whether you go to church or not, or whether your church does this and doesn't acknowledge Christian persecution. I want us all to, keep our brothers and sisters in Christ in our prayers overseas, because I've never been overseas, but I've seen so many documentaries and talked to people who are overseas, and this is literally a whole nother world. If you're an American and this is all mm, it's not like here.
Yeah.
You people, we got people saying they hate America now because of the president and they want to leave. Go ahead and leave. You'll be back. Just like Schwarzenegger said, you'll be back. Go ahead and leave.
That's hilarious. Yo, Deep Web Impact, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Excuse me. Happy Friday, Junior.
Of course, Friday Junior. Welcome into the stream. Carlos. Exactly. A service is mainly to make us reflect on and leave us a lesson, thought to carry with us and put us into action.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. What are we talking about? So, Deep Web, we actually are in a 3-part series. This is our final series. We have been talking about modern issues within the modern church. Um, and we had to split it up into like 3 different parts because we had a lot of points and we just yeah we had a lot to say. So again, chat, if y'all missed part 1 and part 2, they are uploaded up on YouTube. Just go to our channel, click on the live section, and you'll see part 1 and part 2 of this series. That way you can kind of catch up on what we've discussed so far.
Yeah.
What modern church, Catholicism? Well, we're just talking about the church in general. Just it doesn't Catholicism, non-denomination, Baptist, just churches in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just that's what we mean by modern church. A lot of things have changed as far as like how they run services, subjects that they talk about. Like I said, we covered a lot of different takes on that, just speaking our mind, just observations. Because you know how it is, like, they always say that things are not the same with this and with that. And then back in the days, we always hear that back in the day, things were like this. Back in the day, things were like that. And now it's X, Y, and Z. So that's what we're covering in this podcast, in this episode here, which is the last installment of it. So you want to get caught, because right now we're on number 6, and we're talking about the church not really acknowledging Christian persecution overseas. So we really sat up here for about 30 plus almost 40 minutes talking about, there's Christians that get killed overseas, and a lot of churches don't talk about it. It's not in the sermon. Instead, a lot of the sermons is talking about you and feeling good, and you're all right over there.
yeah, and dog sitting in the.
Oh, okay.
She's behind the chair, so I'm trying to make sure I don't roll on her.
Right.
But I can hear her snoring.
You're good. As an atheist, I have one refusal to compromise in the public sphere. Trying to convert people on the street, trying to get religion and the science in the school. So one thing that I don't really agree with is street preaching.
Yeah.
Because we had somebody in here last week he said he wasn't really spiritual either, which is fine, because we invite, anybody to come in here, whether you're a Christian or an atheist or a Buddhist or whatever. We try to have like respectable conversation in here. As two Christians, me and Bearded here, we do our part to share our faith in a common way and not from a religious background. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, there are some Christians out here who have just really beating people over the head with the Bible and saying a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense and screaming at them that they're gonna go to hell. I'm like, that's not the way that Jesus told us to do things. He told us to love people. He told us to pray for people. He didn't tell us to judge people. In fact, he said, if you judge them, you'll be judged harsher. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we invite everybody in here. But I will say I do agree with you about the street preaching, because that doesn't do it to me. That don't do nothing but just aggravate people. We see it. I'm in Florida. We see this every summer. Every summer, they be on the side of the road with the tie screaming, "Thus saith the Lord, you shall go to hell." I'm like, that's all I hear. And I'm like sitting in the car, and I'm like yelling at the car. I'm like, dude, I believe. You ain't got to yell at me. You don't even. It's not gonna stop. And I saw something last week. I saw the dude had his kid outside. It was a little boy. He like about maybe 5 years old, yelling at the traffic. I said, nah, man, this ain't it.
Ain't no way.
You want look, first of all, if you want somebody to listen to you, stop yelling at them. Don't yell.
Yep.
Say your piece and just leave it at that. And then if they receive it, cool. If they don't, okay. Everybody's not going to receive, but I will say that, as Christians, our job is to share our faith, because we want people to, experience what it is we experience, but we're not supposed to be forcing it on
right, yeah.
either. We don't force it on people, like
gotta be natural.
It's gotta be natural, man. Like I know a guy, he is, what is he? A Buddhist. And we've been cool for a couple years. He used to be a Catholic. He came out of that. I don't know what happened, but he just came out of it. him and his wife took a trip to Bali on their honeymoon, and I don't know what the heck they saw or experienced, but it made them Buddhists. So they, they became Buddhists, and we cool. We got conversations. We talk. He he's never looked at me sideways. I don't look at him sideways. In fact, he's even told me. He said, "I'm glad that you're not one of those ones that are super religious and you don't push stuff on people. You just try to walk it out the way that it's supposed to be walked out." I said, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how we're supposed to walk it out. We're not supposed to just yell at people and say they're gonna go to hell. Like, no, you might be going to hell for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, do you read the Bible? Do you not know what it says about condemning people? You tell people how you feel. You tell them what the scriptures say. Either they agree with you or they don't agree with you. And if they don't agree with you, Jesus never told us to push it on people.
Right. Right.
Everybody's not going to believe. As much as Christians, as much as we would like that to be the case, it's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely okay. Because I know it, like you said, it comes down to mutual understanding, mutual respect. I'll give you an example. My dad, before he retired, his coworker, I believe, was Muslim, and on Fridays, I think they don't eat certain stuff. I can't remember if it's fish or pork. I know for sure pork.
It's pork for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know, like, whenever they go out to eat, my dad doesn't eat that around him, because obviously the Bible does say don't be a stumbling block.
Mm-hmm.
So, out of respect for that, my dad doesn't eat pork around his coworker.
Yeah.
And I think that is the way it should be. I don't think it should be one of those, well, why you don't eat pork? Why you don't eat fish? You don't do this, you don't do that. You get to understand the reason behind it and you respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Jesus said, if it be possible, live peacefully among everybody. He didn't say go argue with people. Oh, you're an atheist. Go argue with them. Go debate them. Ain't nowhere in the Bible that tell us to debate nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere. So like, I'm not gonna do that. Asking people all these questions and stuff and getting on their nerves, like that's not peace. That's not loving. I'm a firm believer. If somebody really wants to know something, they will come and they'll come to you. But a lot of that comes from how you choose to live your life too. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians that are hypocrites and they live a double life and it looks very bad on their faith. And
especially when they get caught.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Especially when they get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. And nobody's perfect. Don't get me wrong, but come on, man. Like, you're supposed to be like an example here, but this isn't all walks of life. Like, there are people who are supposed to represent certain things and then it just kind of fall short and make them all look bad. So, and we're trying to like give people comfort and to be open about talking and asking questions if need be. Not necessarily trying to push our faith on people and convert people. Once again, that would be great, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. I feel like Jesus is for everybody. If I didn't say that, then I wouldn't stand firm on what it is I believe.
Right.
But there are obviously people in the world who don't believe or agree with that, and there's a lot of things I don't agree with or believe in, but I don't beat people over the head about it.
Right.
I just don't. So I feel like as long as the people, if we can just respect each other, and we can work together, we can eat together and chill together, and let life go on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't know if you agree, but it's something that I think would improve the perception of Christianity from an outsider. Hold on. Oh, that's the above. Oh, the
Yeah,
above.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got you. Some focus too much on spreading fear instead of the love. Oh man, yeah. See, you can't just people. Some people got this mindset of like, if we just talk about hell all the time, they will believe us or they will make the decision. I'm like, how you gonna like talk about something that they already don't believe in?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Thinking that that's gonna convince them. Like, that's not the way.
Yeah.
That's not the
I'm,
way.
I mean, like, it's okay to have the hellfire brimstone talks.
Mhm.
It's okay to have those toe stepping talks.
Yeah.
Because that's what the hellfire and brimstone, sir, those lessons have been turned into.
Yeah.
They've changed to the stepping on toes
Yeah.
type type lessons. But like you said, Carlos, man, trying to strike fear into the hearts, that is not the way to go.
No.
You know, yeah, we see it in the Bible all the time. Like the Pharisees was so perplexed as to why Jesus would eat with sinners and eat with robbers and you know all types of tax collectors, people that rob like individuals that rob people, and they're like, why is he eating with them? I mean,
Mind you, now the Pharisees were the religious people
right.
in that day, and they looked at Jesus was, why are you around these wicked people? Prostitutes, thieves, sick people. It's real easy for people who aren't believers to kind of wrap up everything all in one. Like, Jesus is this Christianity, this religious stuff, and Jesus is this religious figure. No, that's not true, because it was religious people who wanted him dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That it was them that wanted him dead. And the thing is, Jesus taught us to not shy away from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't shy away from the atheists. Don't shy away from the Muslims. Don't shy away from the Buddhists. Don't shy away from the spiritual folks. Don't shy away from the people that might not look, clean. Show them the love.
Mm-hmm.
Show it to them. And that's how it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, it's not like that all the time. Some take judgment upon themselves and want to bring others in it so they can say, I saved them, get heavenly points, and I'll have a house of gold in heaven to keep saving more sheep. Yeah, I know. That's a lot of the churches, man. They do that too. Some of these churches, they be like, and this ain't a bad thing. They'll be like, we had 30 people saved today, or 50 people got baptized today. Like, that's not a bad thing. I'm not going to sit up here and say every little thing that they do is questionable
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot, because that's great. That's wonderful. A lot of people came to the Lord. That's what's up. But me and my friend talked about this yesterday, that it doesn't matter. I'm gonna say it doesn't matter, but you get all these people saved and they come to Christ and then they come to church, but you're not discipling them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still just coming and getting these mediocre messages and not really learning anything about who their identity is in Christ. And they just, I don't know, they don't change. They become carnal minded. A lot of them still are doing things in the world because of the messages that a lot of the modern day churches are preaching. Now, it's not every church. There are some great churches. There are some great pastors, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them. There's not. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, definitely a lot. Let's see. Others go with the euphoria slash emotions and want to share it as fast as possible, forgetting it's different for each person. Yeah, that is true. People learn different ways. So for that, it you, you start off with the milk, and then you gradually get to the meat.
hmm. All right, so um, we getting we heading on this point a little bit too much, man. We need to go ahead and wrap this up. Let's go ahead and point to point number 7. All right, so this is the last point of the night right here, of the whole series here. So most of these talking points I thought of, and I felt like this one right here was one that I wanted to talk about personally, which is something else I never hear about in churches either. There's no education about the significance of Israel and God. Now, the news, especially like CNN and stuff, seem to have a big problem with Israel. Okay, and I don't know, man. Like, the image of Israel is just being painted in this really, really bad way, so to speak. And I think that, first of all, I do believe that's on purpose. And number two, I don't feel like enough people really realize how Israel and God go hand in hand. Like, they don't get it. They don't understand. And once again, a lot of churches don't talk about this. Now, I gotta watch YouTube just to see something like this. Okay. Now, I will say that the senior pastor of my church, he last year he held an educational series on Israel. I think he did it for like a couple of months or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it piqued the interest of like folks, and they came and they showed up, and he talked a lot about it and stuff. So, um, how do you feel about this subject here, as far as like being talked about in church?
Um, Man, honestly, I really don't know. I know, I know. Growing up, the Bible teachers would mention it. Um, Now, as far as like sermons being taught on Israel, um, I don't hear a lot of sermons about that either. But you hear about Israel when it pertains to the Bible, not like the modern day Israel.
Mhm.
Why what's going on right now is really happening. So I guess me personally, I don't really have the words for it.
Right.
uh,
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those subjects that is just not really talked about like in the church. It's just it's usually like a feel good message, is from my understanding. I go all the way back to the Old Testament, of course. Talking about how God changed Jacob's name, to Israel, and he told to him that he would bless him and make him a great nation, of course. No, he
hmm
told Abraham he would bless him and multiply him and make him a great nation, of course. And the Bible says that Israel is the land of God, and that anybody who curses Israel will be cursed, and anyone who blesses Israel will be blessed. And as history goes on, it's like, yeah, it's always something with Israel. Like, ever since I was a kid, I've always heard problems with Israel. This place got this problem with Israel. This place got that problem with Israel. They're trying to attack Israel and all this different type of stuff. And I'm like, dang, man, like, why everybody trying to why they trying to get all over there and mess with these folks? So I didn't really understand it. at first, and then I learned that it was Bible prophecy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, like biblical Bible prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
The significance of Israel and God. It's not really talked about a lot, because when you start talking about stuff like prophecy, and then you go to like the book of like Isaiah and Ezekiel and stuff, they're like, these
Mm-hmm.
are just not
Open-minded.
common messages.
Yeah.
It's not common messages, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is like going unseen. Let me read. Israel historically and biblically is good, and the location is rich in history for many religions. And it's hard to overlook Israel's current. Yeah. Now I ain't saying that. I ain't saying Israel squeaky clean for sure. I mean, they screw up just like everybody else. Shoot, if you look in the Bible, that's all they did was screw up. Constantly screwed up over
Yeah.
and over and over, going for pagan religions, turning it back on God, getting killed, help, and then God stepping in and helping them. Like it's a constant back and forth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Those
So
boy. Man, one of my favorite stories is when they turned their back on God and God brought them snakes out.
look, look.
That mess had me rolling. Like, uh-huh.
Exactly. But yeah. This subject right here is like, it's not it was more of a thought, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it's just there. I wanted to throw right there and just mention honorable
Yeah.
mention.
There you go. Let's see. Impact says both Muslims and Christians and Jews all need to chill out. This isn't love for your peaceful religions. And that's true. Just bringing pain and war and turmoil to like the nation is ridiculous. Like it's almost like the question is, why are we fighting over religion when everyone's goal is to live like Christ and make it to heaven? Like, why are we fighting over that?
I think everybody wants to be right.
That's what it boils down to.
Nobody wants to be wrong. Everybody wants to be right. But the fact is, everybody can't be right. So because everybody can't be right, we have war. We have this. We will call it disputes. This is war.
Yeah.
And it's been going on forever.
Forever.
Before we were born, before our folks were born, before our grandparents it's been going on. This ain't new. Nobody wants to be wrong. I would say money, but I don't think that's it either. I think it's just that nobody wants to be wrong. Hold on. Let me see what Carlos said. Throughout history, the leadership has failed. People turned their back on God after led astray by the figure. Right. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Israel ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but God loves them.
He does.
That's that same mercy upon us. We ain't perfect either. We mess up, fall short, but God has grace.
Mm-hmm.
He has grace. I think that people they got the wrong idea when they think God's just like pointing at you and looking at you to screw up and mess up. Like, oh, look at you. You can never get your life right. You're sinning again. You're messing up again. Like that. Nah, man. I don't know who told you that that's the way that God is, but they lied to you.
Right.
That ain't it. Yeah. There's a very distorted view of Christianity, and I think it's because of a lot of the hypocrisy that's always televised and highlighted. You always highlight the bad, but hardly anybody, especially the media, ever highlights any of the good and the testimonies that people have who have come to Christ. Yeah. I got a problem with that. If you're gonna tell it all, if you're gonna tell some, tell it all.
Might as
Don't just be,
well.
you know what I'm saying? Don't just be making it seem like oh, it's just a bunch of crazy folks that believe in some man in the sky. Like, no, that ain't it. Because that's what we hear. That's what we always hear. So I mean, that don't phase me, but it is what it is.
Carlos, don't do that.
What?
Don't do that,
Tell
Carlos.
tell as an old time. That song.
D, all right, you need to get out right now. If you don't know what movie this song came from, you got to go.
Look, man, I'm tired, bro. Break it down, man.
That's from Beauty and the Beast.
Dude, you know how long it's been since I seen that movie?
Every person, every man, woman, and child is required to remember the songs of every Disney movie.
Gosh. I'll take this L then. I'll take this L. I'm sorry. And I've seen that movie a lot. My sister had, she had it, so we had to watch it all the time. You know, why is it always like me? Like, why is it always me? Why ain't never you that gets caught up in these moments? Why is it always me, man?
That I am smarter than the average bear, boo boo.
Well, I think we've
Time for you to go out there.
we've talked enough about church. Y'all done heard us talk about church for 3 episodes. I know y'all like for us to talk about some of the other stuff, the other ratchet stuff, and we got a lot of that to come up, a lot of relationship stuff. I'm just saying, we didn't have we got 40 episodes. 40 episodes. And we talked about this earlier this year about talking more about our faith, which we've given y'all nearly a whole month of it. So
yeah, that is true.
We got a lot of other stuff that we're gonna talk about going forward. So, but I definitely appreciate the opposing comments and and not being afraid of talking, because I think that's another problem. Christians are scared to talk to people that's not Christians. That don't make sense to me. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like as long as it's civil and not disrespectful, and you ain't beating them over the head, then just treat them like anybody else. Have a cordial conversation. Now, if it start getting disrespectful, then yeah, do what you got
We'll
to
need
do.
you to come to the principal's office.
Yeah, like we can be cordial. I can be respectful, but you gonna respect me too. Don't be throwing no low blows and jabs. If you don't want to feel no low blows and jabs, it's just about, like you said, it's just about respect at the end of the day. So, but I do appreciate the folks that came in over the last couple of weeks who had some opposing views, and that's fine. So, as long as I feel like everybody's trying to seek something, everybody's trying to seek wisdom and knowledge of some sort, or learn something new. For people to be open enough to learn from somebody else who's not being a butthole or a jerk or something,
right?
Let you know how we feel about our faith, then cool. But yeah. You got any plugs, man, that you want to drop in there for us?
I mean, I streamed for like the first time in 4 weeks on Monday, so that was fun.
Right.
I'll probably throw a stream. I normally I try to stream when I can. But I know work is about to get busy here soon, so if I do get back in the streaming, it's gonna be like more of morning streams than evening. But I will say that May the 11th, most of y'all know, I am type 1 diabetic, but I was actually asked by the diabetic community to participate in a charity stream next month. So I will actually be kicking it off. This will be creators for Cure in May, and basically it's going to be the week of May the 11th. There are going to be different genres for each day. I'm kicking it off with horror. So y'all already know how I feel about my horror games. I know y'all like to come in and clip and try to scare me and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, we are bringing more awareness to type 1 diabetes while raising money. Um, there will be a special announcement on that day. So just make sure that you mark it in your calendars. May the 11th. I'm going to try to do a little bit earlier so we can stream a little bit longer. Um, and just, have fun, relax, talk about type 1 diabetes because we all know somebody that deals with it. And, maybe my story can help you understand what we go through. So that's all I really got.
Yeah, I always enjoy, that conversation that you have. Like I said, I feel like I told you this a million times that you took something that a lot of people would, deem to be, devastating or just unfortunate, and just turned it into like something inspirational to, give some hope to other people out here that, that might have just been diagnosed or they're dealing with it and they don't know how to cope with it. And then I think the wonderful, I give social media a lot of flack, but I do like the fact that, you can, if they're there, if you need them, you can find communities
Mm-hmm.
of people who deal with what it is you deal with. There's a community for literally for everything. If you look, it's there. So I like that part right there. That's what's up, man. But um I don't really have any plugs at the moment. Like I said, I'm about to move in about 2 weeks. Once I'm all settled in and stuff, I had some talk. Yeah, I had some talks. I do miss streaming. I'm not gonna lie, I miss it. But I'm still kind of in this transitional phase of my life as far as figuring out does it have a place in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and where that is, I don't know. How it's gonna work, I don't know, and I haven't really given it much thought. So I need some things to calm down first, so I can think clearly about it, and then I know for sure that content creation definitely is something that I'm always going to do in one way, shape, or form, whether it be streaming video games or. And by the way, I haven't played any video games since the beginning of the year, like nothing. That's how serious I've been taking my journey. Now, is it necessary? No, not necessarily. I could, and even my wife, she's like, "You need to start doing something, man. Like, come on, like, do something." So I may play some I don't know, like some Streets of Rage or something this weekend with my son.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest, just so we can do something together. Just play some Sonic the Hedgehog. Some I wanted to involve my kids,
Yeah.
so I want to play some video games with them. That'll be a way for us to spend time together and for me to have a little bit of an outlet away from everything I got to do. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's all I got on my end, man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we again appreciate you guys for coming out, whether you were on the purple or red side. We appreciate the comments and um, you guys just pulling up and showing some support. But if you are on Twitch and you hadn't hit that follow button, if you enjoy the content, please hit that follow button. There will be more content coming next week and possibly the week after that. Not sure yet. Because again, D will be moving here soon, so we will definitely keep you guys updated. And if you're over on the red side, aka YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that noti bell so you'll know next time we're live. But other than that, you guys have a great night because tomorrow begins the weekend and it's time to relax and enjoy ourselves after a hard day of work. So, God bless y'all, and we'll see y'all later.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Y'all know me, Big the Legend G, with my co-host Initial D, bringing that heat in the Twitch street. Grab your popcorn, kick up your feet, sit back, relax. We about to blow. Welcome to our channel. Enjoy the show. Ayy.
Hard conversation, brain stimulation, BGID, no imitation. Look, pull up on the mic. Two big guys is rocking the night. Sub on YouTube and follow on Twitch. I guarantee it's gonna be a hit. It's showtime.